Hi, this is Jill coming to you from Baker's Green Acres in the Farmstead Kitchen. Today we had a question about how to use the bacon. The Mangalitsa bacon is definitely fattier than what most store bacon is. It does have meat in it. It's just got a lot more fat in it too, which is fine. The Mangalitsas were bred for their fat. It's much more substantive than bacon from other pigs that you might have had. The other thing that changes it is that we don't feed them corn, so it's not an oily fat. It's a nice dry fat. When you cook it, it renders out quite a bit. Save it. It's great stuff. You can fry your eggs, fry your potatoes. We use it on vegetables. Anytime I'm frying, it's just on the stove and I pour it in the pan and it's good. But I'm going to show you a few different things. Today we're just going to do one thing. One of our favorite things to do, Jim just joined me, is to bake a roast, or today we're going to do a chicken, and then I put the bacon over it and just bake it. It's easy. You get the bacon, you get the chicken, it's all good. I'm going to show you today, we're going to start with a whole chicken. This is a really easy thing to do, cutting up a chicken. It takes a little practice, but you're going to eat it. It doesn't matter if it's not beautiful. You don't have to sell it and impress people, you just are going to eat it, so it's no worries. A whole chicken is a much more economical way to go than buying all the parts, especially if you're only buying breast. So that's one consideration with using a whole chicken and cutting it up. The other is that it's a whole chicken. You know, chickens aren't just breast. They're breast, their bone, their wings, their legs. They also come with hearts, livers, and gizzards, chicken necks, all these great things, even chicken feet. And you get all of it from us. But the reason that we make that available and that we found people that use that and encourage people to use it is twofold. One is that all of that stuff is good for you. That whole chicken was made as a package deal to nourish your body. So the bones help build your bones and joints when you use bone broth. The internal organs are very nutrient dense. There's a lot of minerals and a lot of good stuff in those internal organs. So it's good to know how to use them and incorporate them into your diet. They're not that much of the bird, so it's not that much that you have to work at. We're not going to do that today, but in our classes, we definitely do it, and I show you how to use it. We cook it, you eat it, you get to try it. It's all good. It's a whole package deal. It was made that way. That chicken has given its life to nourish you, and so it's kind of incumbent on us, if at all possible, to use the whole thing, to make good use of that whole gift of life. So I'm going to show you how to do it. You can, of course, just get parts, bake them, whatever suits your fancy. But I'm going to show you how to do it, so if that's an option that you want to try, it's there for you. There, we'll bring you down to the cutting board. Alright, our whole chicken here, what we're going to do is cut it into, I think today I'll just go into 6 basic parts. And then I'm going to bake it in my dish. Then we're going to put the bacon over top of it. The kids love it. I bake it with it right on. It gives a little flavor. I always save the broth that's in the bottom of the pan. Because it's basically bone broth. It's really gelatinous. It'll be flavored with the bacon. It's a little fat, but it's excellent tasting. And then I crisp the bacon up with the broiler before we're all done. So it's nice and crispy. Alright, when you're cutting a whole chicken, when you're cutting any meat, but especially chicken, we're going to cut in the valleys. So, we'll start with the wings to get them out of our way. I'm going to pull it away from the body a little bit. Right into that valley. I'm just going to take my knife down. I'm going to go around it. Around that joint. And there we are. There's our wing. I'm going to leave this tip on today. I'm going to leave it intact and just put it in my pan. I'm going to take this wing, pull it out. Again, I'm in the valley there. Just kind of go around, and you can see where that valley is right there. I don't normally do this, it's just to show you. Leave it down so that if my knife should slip, it's going to go into my cutting board, not my hands. We were in a class once and the chef's knife slipped and he cut his hand, and we took a lunch break while he went to the ER and got stitched up. You don't want to do that. Alright, the next valley I'm going to look for is right here by the drum, by the leg. Right between the body and the leg. And I'm just going to go through that skin. Okay, when I got to here, I'm going down on the outside of that pelvic bone. I just popped that joint open. Go around the back. And then I go down right next to the pelvis, so I keep as much meat on that leg as I can. Same thing on this side. And go right down between the body and the leg. Okay, turn it around. And then I can pull that leg away a little bit. Gravity can be our friend. Go along on the outside of the pelvic bone there. And pop that joint open. Go along the back side. And I'm keeping my knife pointed at the carcass, so I'm scraping the meat off, as well as keeping the knife blade, again, away from my fingers. Cuts happen, but the more you can minimize them, the better off you are. Alright, now, that's the easiest way. Sometimes I go right down the middle, and then I leave the pelvic bones on the legs. Frankly, I just forgot just now. But that's okay. I'm going to still throw this. I'm going down through the flank here. I'm going to take this pelvis off just by, I loosened all of that from the ribs. Use my knife right at the top of the pelvic bone there to put a little pressure on, and then I just break it back. And it'll take it right at a joint. I'm going to throw it in my pan because as it cooks, it'll release a lot of its gelatin out of the bones, and it'll add to the broth in the bottom of my pan. Okay, split this breast. I don't know if I can show you too much there, but right along the spine, there's a bunch of white joints. And that's where the ribs, you'll be able to see it when you look in there, that's where the ribs join into the spine. Take the point of my knife, right along the spine there, and I'm going to go down. A little awkward going it that way, but that way you can see. Now, that helps separate the ribs from the spine. It also gives me a handy place. I'm going to hold the ribs. Knife is at the spine, again pointed a little bit at the spine for safety. And then I can just go right down and go through those joints. This is where my big knife comes in handy, because it gives me a little more leverage. It's got a little more heft to it. Okay, now I've got the keel bone in the middle there. That's what this sternum is called, the breastbone of the chicken. I'm going to use the heavier part of my knife right at the neck, where the bone is the heaviest, right down the middle of that keel bone. And we'll go down through it. And if your knife isn't super sharp, like it turned out my knife wasn't tonight, it might take you a little bit. But you've got the leverage, and that bone should just crack right through. Run your knife down through the skin. And there you go. You have your split breast pieces. So, we have our split breast, our legs and thighs, and our wings, and we're good. I'm going to layer them in my pan here. I picked pepper bacon tonight because the pepper just gives it a little more flavor. I'm just going to layer it over there. pound of bacon out. It's probably a little more than I'll need. No one will complain if I save it for breakfast tomorrow. There we go. And it's ready to go in the oven. I'll bake this, depending on how far ahead of dinner time I am, 350 for about 35-40 minutes. If I have time, I'd much rather go a little bit slower and go at 300 for about, probably an hour, hour and a half, somewhere in there. And then at the end, I'll turn the broiler on and just crisp that bacon up a little bit more. Because otherwise it's a little chewy. It's nice and thick. There's a lot of flavor there to add to the chicken. It keeps it from drying out, even if I forget or we get a little late with dinner and it's in the oven a little longer. Fat helps keep meats tender and juicy. It also gives them a lot of flavor. So by putting the bacon over top of the chicken here or a beef roast, we've done a lot for it. So that's our dinner tonight. We did a whole chicken into pieces. We're going to bake it with bacon on it. And we're going to have a good dinner tonight, aren't we, Jim? Oh, yeah. All right. This is Jill and Jim and Frank coming to you from the Baker's Green Acres Farmstead Kitchen.